a stunning admission from the Trump administration. It admits in a court filing that a Maryland man was sent to the notorious El Salvadorian mega prison, all because of administrative error. And it argues there is no way to get him back. CNN's Priscilla Alvarez joins our panel now. Can you just kind of back up?
Yeah.
What do we know about who this person is and whether or not he was the danger to America that the administration is now claiming he was?
This is a filing that came in late last night in a lawsuit over the removal of the Salvadoran national. What we know, according to court documents, is that he crossed into the U.S. around 2011. He had a brush with law enforcement that we see in these court documents in 2019 when local police department had approached him and a group of men who were loitering at a Maryland Home Depot. The police department said that he had ties to MS-13. When he was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in that year, he went through immigration proceedings. Over the course of those proceedings, this alleged tie to MS-13 came up. According to the attorney, it was quite fruitless in getting additional information and evidence as to why he was being tied to this gang, other than the fact that the police department said it was because of a confidential informant and because of his attire at the moment that he was detained. Now, over the course of those immigration proceedings, again in 2019, an immigration judge granted what we call withholding of removal. What does that mean? That means that the government, cannot remove him to El Salvador for fear of persecution in that country. He is still removable to another country, but he cannot be sent to El Salvador. And if the federal government were to want to terminate that, they would have to go through an additional process in immigration court. So this man on the list, he gets arrested in March of this year and is detained by ICE. His wife, the last time she spoke with him, was the morning of those 3 deportation flights to El Salvador. And this court declaration provides a glimpse of what exactly was happening that day. There was a flight manifest, and as ICE was working through this flight manifest, they were pulling off names because of various reasons, they say. His name, therefore, was moving its way up on the list until ultimately he was put on this deportation flight to El Salvador.
So is that the quote-unquote clerical error that they claim?
Correct.
That it just moved up a list without anybody realizing?
And that is what the senior ICE official calls an administrative error, going on to say that Abego Garcia, that's his last name, was removed from the U.S. to El Salvador. The senior ICE official says this was an oversight and the removal was carried out in good faith based on the existence of a final order of removal and Abego Garcia's purported membership in MS-13. So the administration is maintaining that he has ties to MS-13. His attorney says that is not true. But the problem here for the attorneys, for the court, for the administration in these court documents is they can't get him back because he is now in Salvadoran custody. This is true as well with the other migrants that were sent on these deportation flights. So really the ball now is in El Salvador's court, and it's unclear what resolution there will be here, but this is an ongoing legal proceeding with another hearing on the horizon.
And Jeff, you cover the White House for us. I just want to say that Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, is speaking right now, and she doubled down on the notion that this man was part of a gang, MS-13, even though, as you said, we can't find any evidence that he was convicted of such a thing. What I just, as a layman looking at this, want to know is, why can't they get him back?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I wish I knew the answer. I think what I would say, sort of on a step back level, is I remember when Elon Musk and the president were in the Oval Office together the first time, Elon said, we're going to make mistakes, and then we'll fix them. But some of these mistakes, if they are mistakes, are not easily fixed. And that's an example in this case. I was in the Oval Office yesterday with the president, and I asked him if he had seen the video of that Tufts student who was removed from the street, and if he was comfortable with that, because that's one example of what his administration is doing on immigration. And he get in a very Trumpian way. He's like, oh, I saw it, but I didn't look closely. I'm not super familiar. There's this desire to kind of gloss over the things that really have a real impact on human beings.
Yeah. So that's one example. And we're obviously focusing on this because there was a court filing. there are other examples.
Well,
What?
and just
Go
to be
ahead,
clear,
please.
we're focusing on this because Immigration and Customs Enforcement has admitted to the
That's what
error.
I mean.
Because I have done reporting on multiple families and attorneys who have gone to immigration court expecting that their client was going to be beaming in from immigration detention, only to be told during that hearing by ICE, actually, this person was sent to El Salvador. We didn't notify you until this moment. So this all to say that this court filing has been significant because it demonstrates an error by the agency. Admitted, whereas attorneys and family members over the last several days have been saying, wait a minute, this person shouldn't be there.
So then the question is other people, and you have done incredible reporting talking about a number of people who are on those 3 ICE flights and others. Joe Rogan is an unlikely critic of Donald Trump on this, and yet he was out on his podcast, which has millions and millions of listeners/viewers. He was talking about somebody different, a person who, according to Time, was taken even though he said he's not a gang member. He said, "I'm gay and I'm a barber." Listen to what Joe Rogan said about this case.
That's horrific, and that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs, and then, like, how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? If you want, compassionate people to be on board with you, you can't deport gay hairdressers seeking asylum. That's fucking crazy. And then throw them in an El Salvador prison.
Just on the raw politics of this, David, do you see that Rogan moment as a moment?
I see that moment as explanatory as to why Joe Rogan has such a broad following that he has, and is not I know he was supportive of Trump and is seen as in this manosphere universe that was instrumental to Trump, but why he has this large following is because he doesn't always just sort of like play to a partisan robotic type. He speaks sometimes, a little bit more pragmatically in his approach. And so what I don't know if it's a moment of like break, or I would not assess it that way, Dana, but I would say that is going to make ears inside the White House perk up. That is a trusted voice, and it is someone who is coming at this from a different angle outside sort of the blinders that they have on this.
And just real quick, we were wondering about Democrats speaking up, and if I'm a Democrat, I say, if Joe Rogan's doing it, it's much more powerful of a megaphone for people who are trying to reach.
Absolutely. And I mean, and in a way, this administration is always talking about common sense. It does seem like common sense. If you want to do this and say you're going after gang members, get actual gang members who you can prove it. Like, when you have people caught up in this who have very sympathetic stories, that's not good politically.
All right, everybody, as President Trump gears up for his most aggressive tariff move yet, the markets are unsure, international leaders are unsure. Is the president's own party now becoming unsure? We have new reporting after the break.
Tonight at 7.